I always get this intro wrong, but I'm going to try this time.
No such thing as wrong.
All right, we're live. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Sober Weekly Podcast. Today I have a... hold on, let me do that one more time, actually. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Today we got another episode. Oh, man, why am I forgetting? One time, here we go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Sober Weekly Podcast, where we bring you guys hope, faith, and love, and your recovery, and hopefully that you guys can hear some stuff today that will change your life. Also, if you want to subscribe to the channel below, feel free to subscribe for future episodes, tips, and events that are coming up. And if you know anybody that's trying to get sober or is sober, you could contact us at the Magic House, which will be in the link, where we bring people to empower their talent. So hit us up. And now I want to introduce the special guest. So this special guest, whoo, she's a legend.
Oh my gosh.
She literally planted a seed when she got sober that took probably like 7 years to get watered for me to get sober, because when I started my sober journey, she was one of the first people I followed on Instagram that gave me some hope and some faith, because I didn't really have any connection in AA yet at that time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, she struggled with alcoholism really bad. She's, I feel like she has a podcast voice. When she speaks, it's like when she talks, it's like you get the answer. Literally, the answer comes in the most simplest way. So we can just avoid asking 20 people, and you can just ask this person that we have today. You guys might know her on her Instagram as Serenity Lives 09. Not 09, it's 09. And I want to introduce Julie. What is your last name?
Kennedy.
Julie Kennedy.
No relation to the president.
No relation.
Not that I know of.
To the president that she knows of. So she probably is related.
It might be.
Might be. Oh my gosh, I'm with a celebrity.
I know, right?
Wow.
Woo! Wow, thank you. Vasa, what a great introduction.
Thank you.
You really talked me up, and it's kind of making me nervous.
I was actually holding back a lot.
Are you really?
Yeah, I was holding back a lot.
Oh my gosh, you're making me blush right now.
The whole podcast would have just been on me talking about you. It was one angle.
Just the one, focusing only on me.
That's
Get my
it.
good side. All right.
Yeah, right now she's posing, guys. She's literally posing, guys.
I am.
Yeah.
My legs are crossed. I'm ready. So, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Fasto, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I know we've been trying to get this going for a little bit here, and I'm so excited to be a part of this.
Yeah, I've had a resentment because, you know, you haven't come by in a while. Just letting you know that. So what can you do to make it right for me? That's the new way to make amends, I feel like. You say it for them. What can you do to make it right for me?
Yeah, exactly. We're making it about you again?
Now I have another resentment towards you.
Well, I will say that call your sponsor, perhaps.
I will.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, I will.
How about that?
I will.
Maybe write a little inventory.
Yeah, he's going to tell me the same thing. He's going to say, hey, Fausto, what? So she won't make amends to me. All right.
And then what's he going to say?
Yeah, he said that you need to make an amends.
Oh, that's what he said?
Yeah, you need to step 9 me.
Okay.
Right now.
Sponsor says, sponsor goes, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I apologize that I have not made it out here, and I really appreciate you being patient with me. Of course. Yeah. And I'm glad that I made it. It's beautiful out today. Orange County? Oh my gosh.
Nice.
You live in paradise.
Yeah, what do you think about it here?
You guys, gorgeous. Come out here. Come to Magic House. It's beautiful. I mean, the pool alone, the fact that there's a huge swan floaty in the pool. Girls, get your Instagram pictures on this floaty. Mm-hmm. Just come on by, right?
You post your sober photos on there in a sober pool.
Exactly. Yeah. A sober pool. I like that. You know, it is about attraction, right? We're not even really trying to promote anything. We're just trying to be the attraction of what recovery is.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's beautiful. Come out here, Orange County.
So real quick, can you give us a quick testimony? It's a quick one.
Quick.
Like right now we're in a meeting and they say you only got about 2 to 3 minutes to share. Not 10 minutes, not 20 minutes.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, so once again, my name's Julie, and I grew up in a small town about an hour and a half north from here. A lot of retirement homes, a lot of older families, and so there wasn't a lot of young people my age. And so by the time I actually did understand that I had the addiction and I had the disease of alcoholism, I think it was prolonged to get the help because I looked at all the differences. I was telling myself that I couldn't relate to this person. I hadn't been to jail. I hadn't had kids that were taken away. You know, I didn't come up from a broken family. All these things that were the yets that we talk about that are unrelatable. And of course, the yet started kind of happening for me, you know, so it doesn't have to get to that point. I just kind of want to open it at that point and say that, you know, your rock bottom is when you stop digging. So for me, my rock bottom wasn't really a low bottom in a sense where people look on the outside and they say, you know, you haven't had all these things happen, so what made you want to get the help? And it was more like, you know, I was spiritually bankrupt. I was disconnected completely from reality. And I had gotten to the point where, and we both got sober at 26, right? Or you got sober at 25? 25, yeah. So a year before me. Yeah. So, you know, at 26, I had thought to myself, you know, there's no way I'm going to die from this because I'm too young. You know, I thought that I wouldn't be part of that stigma. I thought that I wouldn't be, you know, succumb to this disease. And, you know, fast forward in 3 year span from 23 to 26, it got so badly for me that I physically was having withdrawals. I mean, forget about the emotionally being bankrupt. Physically, I was just incapable of going a sober breath throughout the day. And that really scared me. And my parents, you know, really tried to help me many times. I had been to 5 different rehabs, 3 sober livings. And each time, the first 4 times I went for them to appease them because I didn't want to get kicked out of the house or whatever the circumstance was. And the last time I ended up going, I just knew I was ready. And I actually came to Orange County.
That's right.
Yeah, I came to Orange County. And it was, I mean, don't get me wrong, all the other rehabs I went to, they planted seeds and I learned from it. And every time I went, I learned something new about my disease. However, it was so cunning, baffling, and powerful. I wasn't really ready to 100% surrender to it. And so, you know, it took what it took. And I got to the point where I was just either die or get sober. And that was scary for me. And so, so then I surrendered to this. And my sobriety date is December 2nd, 2009.
Woo!
Ow! So I just actually had, 9.5 years. And I wanted to point out that it's been 5 years since I smoked cigarettes.
Wow.
Which, that was a hard one for me. And we'll get into that maybe later.
Oh, we will.
Yeah. But, so a little bit about me. Yeah, I got sober at 26. And, oh, man, my underlying, we talk about outside issues. And I've always struggled with depression. Always, since I was like 15, that's earliest I can remember, is when I was diagnosed with mononucleosis, and I was predisposed already. I grew up with my mom being depressed and really not knowing what I was going to get with her. She was a manic kind of depressed.
What does manic mean exactly?
Well, they have these highs and lows. Kind of like bipolar, when you think of bipolar. It's like that.
A cool one moment and they explode the next moment.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Anything sets them off.
Okay.
And so I remember I would be, you know, doing the dishes and I would drop a plate and she'd come in the room screaming, "What did you do?" You know, and of course that, I was a little bit in fear. You know, I kind of like tiptoed around a little bit because I wasn't sure what I was going to get that day. Kind of with alcoholism, right?
So that was your mom, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she didn't drink, thank God. She actually hasn't touched a drop of alcohol in over 30 years.
Wow.
And she tells me, you know, that it wasn't necessarily because her life was falling apart that she stopped drinking, but she didn't like that she didn't have control when she drank. So she wanted to have that control, hence why she's an Al-Anon now.
Oh, is she an Al-Anon?
She's an Al-Anon. So, you know, she did end up going to Al-Anon a couple years before I got sober.
Okay.
And of course, I was so resentful at Al-Anon because I thought, who are they to say, you know, that my mom needs to put up boundaries? My mom's supposed to love me.
Oh, because they
and
the
put
healthy
up
boundaries
exactly.
with your family, especially, and they point it out.
Yeah. So she started telling me that I need to detach with love and crap like that. And she would drop me off at homeless shelters.
Yeah.
And she would drop me off in the, you know, the very other end of town to try to have me walk off the drunk, right? And I'd just go buy another bottle and walk home, and this whole thing would happen all over again, you know? And so, you know, I honestly owe my life to Al-Anon, because I think if it wasn't for Al-Anon, I would have ended up dying from this disease, because she had to put up these boundaries.
Wow.
And these boundaries, I believe, are what really helped save my life.
So they like push you deeper into a rock bottom to get deeper to find recovery.
Exactly.
Wow, that's cool.
That's what I believe. I'm a firm believer in that.
I believe it's true.
Yeah. So, you know, I surrendered, and the first year was rough. We talk about depression again. I went and got outside help. I have a psychiatrist. I had a therapist. Obviously, you know, they confirmed I still had the depression, because there is a whole anhedonia thing that goes on, which is temporary, which has a lot of the depression symptoms, but it's just your brain kind of rewiring itself.
Okay.
And that goes away. So people think, oh, now I'm depressed and I'm sober. And they don't realize that that's something that's part of post-acute withdrawal. So that's a whole nother thing, obviously.
Do you feel like that's always that everybody will have that the first year? That's something to expect, at least?
Definitely something to expect.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely something to expect. So, yeah, we just did a podcast, Daniela and I, and we talked about post-acute withdrawals. And that happens, actually, it can even happen for the first 2 years.
Wow.
Not even just the first year. So when I understood intellectually what was going on with me, not just emotionally, because I was really aware emotionally how I was feeling, defeated a lot of times. And all I could really do perfectly was not drink. And some days it's like, if I could get out of bed and go to a meeting, then that was like a victory. And then I had some days where I could just do everything and get it all done, and I felt really good, you know. So any days that I felt like I was not capable of doing much, I would try to be patient with myself, and I would try to remember, you know, that this too shall pass. That's something I would tell myself all the time. That positive reinforcement, this too shall pass. And I have an amazing sponsor to this. She's still the same sponsor to this day. That's and cool. She was very patient with me, and I am grateful for her. A lot of people need that tough love, and she was more like that nurturing, patient love that I needed. And so I did get the outside help. I got on Wellbutrin, which to this day I'm still on, an antidepressant. It's not controlled or anything like that, so I don't get high off of it. But yeah, and it doesn't fix my problems, obviously. I still have to put in the work. It just, I think, makes it a little more capable for me to be able to, because that wiring in my brain is fucked up since I was a kid, you know? And that's probably so relatable to a lot of our listeners, you know?
Oh, yeah, definitely. A lot of us come from dysfunctional families. So the depression, all that's relatable.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that's something that you've mentioned before with your depression. Kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll get into that too during this episode to talk about depression especially.
Cool.
So you said you got sober in 2009. You said the first year was rough. You have a patient sponsor, and now you have how many years?
9.5.
9.5.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Isn't it?
And how do you feel right now in this moment?
Amazing. And thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Because I want to point that out. Like, if you're patient with yourself and you trust the process, like, more will be revealed always. And I do believe you can turn your pain into purpose. That's something I started saying that a couple years ago, and I need to patent that one because I love that saying. I don't know. Maybe I heard it somewhere, but I don't think I did. Everything I've gone through in my life.
You stole that from me.
No, I started saying it a couple years ago.
That's in my speech.
Is it?
Yeah.
You heard it from me then.
Maybe. I think I heard it from somebody else too.
Oh, well, I'm sure it's probably not the first time.
Of course not.
So anyways, yeah, that's my ego. Take the ego out of it, Julie. Thanks for calling me out.
Julie. Who said that?
Thanks for calling me out. What were we talking about?
Okay, so we got you said you're amazing. You're doing amazing now.
We go through this shit.
We
gotta go through this shit.
So let's talk on.
Yeah, that's where the growth comes from.
Now let's. What I like to do, I like to break things down for people to relate. So since you got 9 years of this, I wanted to talk. What's emotional sobriety to you?
I think one of the things I've really come to understand, especially lately, is how I react to things. Instead of reacting to things, I find that I'm responding to situations differently. Okay, so
being not being a reactor, being more of an actor now.
Exactly.
So choose how to respond.
Yeah, and I give myself the opportunity to pause
Yeah.
when agitated. And for me, one of my biggest character defects had been my anger. And I didn't understand that anger was really fear and hurt.
So did you notice the anger right away?
I did.
And and at first it was just anger, and then you started to figure it was fear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How did you figure that out?
Through my steps.
Do your step work.
Yeah, I love those steps. Those steps are so amazing, and I'm so grateful that Bill and Bob started that program, because I don't think I'd be here. I don't think we'd be here.
No.
And the steps really helped me to identify the patterns, right? And as well as the anger was really the fear. I always felt like I wasn't good enough. I always felt like I never measured up to my peers. I had a hard time in school. I have ADD. I had a hard time reading. Like, all of these things that made me feel inferior, And of course, what do we do when we feel that way? We want to drink. We want to use.
Numb it, do something, whether
numb
it's
out.
people pleasing or just looking for acceptance and helping others.
And helping
Because we're
others.
so good at that.
As long as we're helping ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to what you were asking, part of that would be obviously that I'm responding to situations, and I feel good because then I don't have to make amends later, which is really nice. Because I find, especially in the beginning, you're gonna those character defects are gonna come up, and they're gonna be probably even hard to look at. They're gonna be uncomfortable to look at, but that's part of the growth. That's part of the process. As I was able to identify what my part was, and sometimes my part could be as simple as letting it affect me the way it has.
Okay.
It doesn't mean I'm really even interacting in a certain way. It's just how I'm feeling, and it's hard, those 4 agreements. Don't take anything personally. Always do your best. Those are really good.
It's a good book.
Yeah, I love that book. Those are really, they resonate with me really well, because that's where the work comes once again. And so when it comes to the emotional maturity, I basically, what they say when you get sober, you're at the maturity level that you were when you started drinking and using.
Yeah.
So I was basically like 15 when I got sober. And it's so funny because things pop up on my Facebook, right? Memories. Oh my gosh. I was, even at like 2-3 years sober, really immature. I mean, the way that I would just vomit my words out with my anger.
Yeah.
And not even catch that was what's going on with me. And now I'm able to look back and practice patience and love and tolerance with myself.
Yeah.
Because here I am beating myself up, saying that Julie at 3 years was so immature, and oh my gosh, that's embarrassing. But then again, like, that was part of my process. Here I am now, and I'm looking at Julie at 3 years, and it's like, Julie, you were just trying to figure out how to love yourself still, and others were loving you, and you had a hard time really fully loving yourself. So those character defects can still come up.
How would you describe, for people that are listening, how can you describe, I guess, for someone that is working on their defects, that's maybe having a hard time trying to understand, like, am I doing it right? Am I not? Like, how do I know? How would you explain to know when they are working on those?
I love that question. That's a great question. Now, I was actually thinking about this on the way over here. So we have what's called the maintenance steps, 10, 11, 12, which I've done my steps once. And I've thought about doing them again because stuff comes up, but that's what my sponsor told me. She said 10, 11, 12, those are maintenance.
That's what it is, yeah.
So basically that inventory, I think, is key. So there's this app. It's not like AA affiliated, but it's called the 10-step app.
No way. That's cool.
I love it. And it actually has a picture of Bill on the front.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's really
that's
cool.
like
I'll have to show it to you. Yeah, it's an
little-
app where you can track. So, okay, at the end of the night or in the morning, whatever works for you, you kind of just do an inventory of how your day went. And you look at some patterns. And so basically, do I own amends? Was I resentful? Was I practicing love and tolerance with other people? Was I loving towards all? And what's even better is you can answer yes or no, right? So it's simple, but you can elaborate if you want. So you can add notes. And so you save them, right? And so each night you're saving these notes. And maybe at the end of the week, you kind of want to see where you're at. So maybe one night you had a hard time, you were really resentful at so-and-so, right? And then the next night you're still resentful. And by the third night, you've kind of worked through it and you're in a different place with it. And that's where you can see where your growth is. You know, it doesn't mean we do perfectly, but that's what I like. And also when your sponsor, you're really connected with your sponsor or your sober support, they'll point out things to you as well. Things that maybe you don't even notice. But if you're just taking that right next indicated step, then people around you start to notice something's different. They don't even need to know you're sober. They just know something's different. So it's the way you carry yourself, you know, when you work through that stuff. I just love taking a little inventory.
Yeah.
It can be really uncomfortable at first.
I was going to say, yeah, because I'm trying to think. Why do you think it's uncomfortable at first? I like that.
Because we don't want to look at ourselves. It's easy to be in denial. And I do believe denial is what kept me sick for a long time.
Yeah, keeps us out of the room.
Totally.
I don't got a problem. Good. It's a denial.
I'm different than this person. I'm the victim. It's therefore I'm the victim. Then it's okay that I'm doing this because I deserve this. If you had my life, you would do this too. And it's like, we don't want to be called out. We don't want to look, we want to stay in this dark cloud and be in denial. And I do believe that's how we survive a lot of times is being the victim and being in denial.
It's like, 'cause I've been learning, it's like we're excited by, we're addicted to excitement, they call it.
Yes.
We're addicted to drama. We're addicted to chaos. Something like mundane. I can't be mundane. It has something, whether it's good or bad. I'm just used to something happening.
Yes.
So I can fix it. Or
yes.
I just was so much fun. Now I got to fix this. So much fun. Now I got to fix this.
Yes.
And without realizing, it's like I'm addicted to this.
Yes. It's like a vicious cycle. And then, like you said, without realizing it, it's really hard to identify what it is. But when you're working on yourself, you know, you'll see the pattern, right? It's like, it's hard for us to just have life be sometimes, even me. And like, okay, I'm bored. I need to do something.
Yeah.
This is boring. And so I used to like really love drama. You know, I love it how girls say, I hate drama. Drama follows me everywhere. I am not even, and it's like, no, girl, you are definitely part of that drama.
You're doing it right now. As you're making that post, you're doing it right
You
there
are
now.
in the drama,
Yeah.
you know? And so obviously I love that. Oh my God, I love that question so much. And I love what you just said about that basically it's just mundane, having a hard time just having life be, you know, even kill. Yeah. We have ups and downs, whatever. And it's like having it drama free and doing the best we can is what sobriety is all about, you know?
That's good. Another question I got. Let's see. How about... I got some good stuff for you.
You didn't write any of this down.
I do all my stuff in my head.
It's all up there.
Yeah. Oh, I got a
Very
good one to share. Here's the
impressive.
secret I wanted to share with you that I told you in the car.
I know. I was waiting for that one.
Did you know...
Tell me.
Guys, did you know this? Did you know that when I first started getting sober, you were literally my sober crush?
Oh.
And my sick mind thought when you said, hey, let's get lunch on your 1 year, and my sick mind went, did I just manifest her? Is this going to happen? My sick mind does that, but oh my gosh, is this really happening? And then I go, oh my gosh, here I go again. My sick mind. This is me. My whole, thinking that every person that I meet is
into you?
Is into me. They're into me. They looked at me. They smiled at me. They're totally into me. Okay, and then I'm like, oh, now I'm coming up with these scenarios of like, this is how we're gonna meet, and this is gonna do this, and if I hit them up next week, okay, here's their Instagram. How do I message them? And
Oh, wow.
none of it's probably real.
You're really thinking that through, huh?
Oh, I did.
I see, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, and I thank you. I'm like really flattered by that. I try not to date new people. No offense. And you're too young for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I can't do
I'm super
26. But you're very mature. But I am like a little. That's sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now I lost my train of thought.
You did, huh?
So okay. So after we met, did you still have that same thought?
No, after we met, I you know, again, it clicks. It's like, okay, I got this. This is just, it's a friendship to be built. It's so awesome how we connect, and that's all it is. You know, that was my growth.
Yes,
and my recovery to understand that,
that.
You know, you meet people. It's not always this. There's more to it, and understanding that when you could remove the. For me was. usually when it came to women, if it's a lustful intention, that's where you're connecting to the lust. Usually, I'm gonna get you a drink, you know, let's go out to a concert. But there's always that lustful intention, and I think in recovery, you get to figure out how to actually just have a true connection.
Definitely.
When you have that true connection, it's like the lust is not even there. It's just the talking, the fun, the laughter. That's not even a part of it.
Yeah.
So when I hung out with you, it was like you were the first person, I think, in my recovery that was a female, or maybe even at all, that I was able to connect with.
Wow.
You know, like truly, like just be real. Like when we talk, it's just that so authentic talk back and forth, where it's like, this is what a friendship is. When you can just hang out and talk and laugh without having to impress, lie, manipulate. And I'm just grateful for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And good on you for noticing that.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously the more sobriety we have, the more we're able to identify, you know, that pattern, as well as it is when it comes to being lustful. I mean, you're human.
Yeah.
You know, and I get it. If the initial attraction's there, whatever. But it is very surface. And when we get into recovery, we realize it's much more than that. How do we connect emotionally? You know, and I feel like we've connected since the beginning.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I'm grateful that you've made it here, because you're a big part of my recovery too.
How do you view, like, let me ask you this question. Like when you see a person get sober nowadays, are you able to see kind of when a person's probably going to get it for the most part, or is it still always just,
you know, I've actually stopped guessing
because
I've realized people will surprise you, you know, and I talk about, you know, when the light comes on, when the thing that happens when you've been waiting, especially working in treatment, and you worked with this patient since the beginning, right? And this just happened the other day too, where I checked this patient in, you know, we did the whole introduction, and he was very hesitant to even come in a group. He said, I don't like this group setting. I don't want to talk about this. I don't want people to know I'm here. Very resistant to the whole process. And so what I've learned is you meet people where they're at sometimes. And you say, I understand that. Can you just keep an open mind? Just keep an open mind. You know, where it's short-term pain, long-term gain, you know?
Short-term pain, long-term, I like that.
And I've noticed that as long as they keep showing up and keep an open mind, I find eventually the light will come on. And everybody's different. And it could be small little nuggets where, you know, the first couple weeks, this one guy just wasn't going to his meetings. You know, we want them to go to outside meetings because we want them to have a structured environment when they leave treatment. And he was resistant to go, you know. And then finally, he really started enjoying group. And then he realized, well, maybe meetings are like that too, right? So he felt safe in our group setting, safe enough to interact with his peers. And then his peers were able to have him come to meetings with him, and then he really enjoyed the meetings.
That's
you
cool.
know, and that light came on finally. And this one guy finally identified as an alcoholic yesterday, and he wouldn't for like the first 5 weeks he was there, you know, because there's still that stigma, right? So it's like, and there's a lot of people that are that have a very different understanding, and I get it, to each their own. But I identify as an alcoholic who's in recovery. It doesn't mean that's who I am. I'm just an alcoholic. No, I'm an alcoholic who's trying to be the best version of myself every day. And that varies, right? Like in the 4 agreements, my best varies.
Yep, do your best, and your best is not always the same, and don't worry about that.
Exactly. You have days where maybe you have a headache or whatever, and as long as you're sober and you stay sober, that's a victory. I mean, that's like, so yeah, to answer your question in a roundabout way, I feel that when I make assumptions about what I think this person's going to be like or what they're going to do, you know, they can surprise me. So I just kind of keep an open mind through the whole process, and I love it when I'm surprised, because I initially go, well, this person doesn't seem, they're like really resistant, you know, and I've learned anything I've learned. For me, I approach, as a counselor, I approach our patients in a way where I remain understanding and open-minded, and let them voice how they feel and not make them feel ashamed for how they feel if they're not meeting their peers where they're at, you know. So that's something I've I love to do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And let's talk on depression. So for anybody dealing with depression, let's talk on that.
Love it.
Depression.
Yeah.
How do you go about dealing with depression when it comes to recovery? So now you get sober and you start to realize, maybe even past the first year, let's just say, and things are going good, and then they're like, okay, now I'm just feeling depressed now. Like, what am I doing wrong? And maybe this person is going to meetings. Maybe this person is sponsoring people. Maybe this person is working, doing what's right, but they're like, but I feel depressed. Have you been in that situation, and how did you go about it?
Definitely. The highs and lows, like you talked about. So let me ask you something as well in return.
Oh gosh, question
Is
time.
that something that you were going through when you took a little break from social media? Is that something that happened to you?
Did you just read me right now? I
think so, a little bit.
Obviously, Fausto was hurting and wants some answers.
I think I want to hear a little bit from Fausto for a minute.
What was the question again?
Is that something that you were going through during that 1.5 year time?
Yeah, I remember when we met up when I got my 1 year, and you kind of said, "How are you feeling now after the chip?" And I was like, "I'm feeling great." And you're like, "Really? You're telling me about the terrible twos?" Yeah. And everybody was like, "No, I'm awesome. I'm on top of the world right now. Like I must be doing something different or something. I don't know." And then once I got probably 13 months, it hit. You know, 13, 14 months. I just felt unhappy everywhere, at work, at home, at the gym. And it was like I started to notice myself going back, I would say I started to see my drunk Faust, how behavior, but being sober. And I was like, why am I like this? I'm going to church, I'm going to Bible study, I'm reading the Bible, I'm praying, I'm helping, I'm going to meetings, I'm like, I'm giving, I'm like, what's happening? And that depression. So that's why I asked that question, because I got scared.
It's a valid fear.
Yeah, it's like that whole we want to see things that are easy, maybe oh, I could do that. And I felt like when I did the first year, I was so dude, that was pretty, I did it, wow, cool.
It is fun.
But then it was oh crap, what now what's happening? Oh, this is why they say you don't know it all, or stay humble, or don't forget to ask for help, have humility, because now I'm going back to oh crap, I need help. I really need help, and I need to say something. And not let my ego get to me. So that's what I was feeling.
And the fact that you actually did say something was huge. And that's where that growth is. I think, and I'll put it this way.
Ooh, she's gonna put it this way, guys.
Thanks for
Pay
sharing.
attention, guys. This is some good stuff.
Thanks for sharing your situation, because I think that's so relatable to not just me, but to everybody. Just because I have 9.5 years doesn't mean I don't have depression. And I hate to I don't want to discourage anybody, because I do. I mean, I feel like I'm always kind of have that little underlying depression. But to me, sometimes it's just having faith, even when it seems like things aren't going the way you want it to. Having faith that this is part of your journey, that I think because you struggled with that, you now have empathy and understanding of what real depression is. And I think that that's what a lot of us have. And so when you talk about how you help people and all that, you have a whole nother understanding of it now. Because I remember I was telling you about depression before, and you were just on this pink cloud, and I was so excited for you. And I told you, I said, well, unfortunately that wasn't me, but I'm so glad it's you. And then all of a sudden it hit you, right? And I think that was part of your journey. It kind of had to, for you to really understand that life's in session, and now I can understand what these people are going through. So it's a whole new level of understanding, and a lot of that anhedonia that we talk about in post-acute withdrawal, I feel like that goes on after a year as well. Everything that used to excite you, that used to give you the pleasure, doesn't anymore.
And for those that are listening, what is post-acute withdrawal?
Post-acute withdrawal is a lot of symptoms involved So it's basically not physical at this point. It's more the emotional withdrawal. And you can look it up online. There's the symptoms include having a hard time sleeping, insomnia, frequent awakening, anxiety, depression, things that used to excite you don't anymore, cravings. Ooh, that's a big one. I think if you've noticed, I don't know if you noticed this, but a lot of people don't. Right around 6 months, 9 months, they relapse. And so a lot of times anhedonia is going on for them and they don't know what that is. And all of a sudden things are going really well, and then anhedonia hits, pause hits, and they're craving out of nowhere and they just don't know what to do. And they think, is this how recovery is? Fuck it. Like, I got sober so I didn't feel these.
Yeah, why am I feeling like this?
Why am I feeling like this? Why am I feeling like shit? You know? Why am I craving all of a sudden? And so I think the more that we have knowledge of what's going on with us emotionally in regards to that, it really helps. Because when I understood what was going on with me emotionally and physically, it helped me to trust that it was going to get better. And we could go one way or the other, right? We can go, fuck it, no one's gonna know. Our disease starts talking to us and telling us it'll be just one time, right? That's that loud talking.
One time becomes 2 times, 3 times, or the worst is when you start. It's the mental game of like nobody knows but you know, and that is not a good place to be.
Take you down fast. They take you down fast because you're living with it every day, constantly. And so in regards to that, like I said, the first year was tough, and then the second year it kind of started to get a little grip. I was like in a lot of debt. I didn't have a car. It was like a really humbling experience when I got sober.
Wow.
And I was like walking to meetings, I was walking to work. I was working, my bosses were like 10 years younger than me. I mean, it was just like really humbling.
That's a lot of humility
yeah,
right there.
working in retail.
Yeah.
I went from working like great office jobs with benefits, working for great companies. I was like administrative assistant. I was like one of the head of the buildings over at Amgen, which is like a really big place.
Did you lose that job because of your alcoholism?
I did.
Okay.
Either I lost the job or I left before I got fired. It was one of the two.
Gotcha.
So I have great work experience.
Yeah.
But I kind of just humbled myself and thought, well, I need something just to get me out of the house. And I don't want a lot of responsibility right now. So I went and got this retail job, which was, I think it was a good experience because it got me back out there. And it had me work with people. It had me practice my recovery tools at work. And then from then on, I started to build my own Amazon store. And then I was able to leave and go to school and do all the things that we talk about we get to do in recovery. And it was very gradual for me because I want to emphasize this real quick before I forget. I believe that it had to be hard for me. I'm a firm believer that had to be part of my journey. Because my disease can tell me, look at all these things you have back now. You got the job, you got the car, you got the relationships back. Do you really have a problem? Or was it just that time in your life? Maybe the situations were making it hard. So I feel like I needed that. I needed to be hard in the beginning for me to understand how powerless I was over alcohol and how much it destroyed my life and how it had to be a gradual thing for me because we want instant. We want instant. We want things
right
to
now,
be
right
better
now,
right? And that's just not reality. And for a lot of us, yeah, maybe we do get things back right away, But for me personally, like I feel like that was part of my journey. Is I had to work hard for it.
Yeah.
I had to work really hard for it. I love my sponsor. She put up with me. She's amazing. She really is. She's 39 years sober.
Shout out to your sponsor,
Wendy Joy.
If you're watching this, Wendy, she just gave you a shout out.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's going through cancer right now for a second time too. And she's my little warrior. I call her my warrior queen because she's using the tools of recovery. So it just goes to show, it doesn't matter how much time you have.
Yeah. We
have stuff we go through and we apply the tools in our daily life. And so it's just building that every day, building those tools,
Well, my prayers go out to your sponsor.
Thank you.
Just know that.
Thank you.
Here's a good one. How do you practice humility?
Didn't we just talk about that earlier?
Did we practice
I
humility?
was called out. I said, thanks for humbling me.
Did I say that on the podcast or was that before the podcast? I gotta know.
No, it was during the podcast.
Okay. Erase. How do you practice?
I love that question.
How do you
have such good questions.
What is how do you practice your faith? And what is how do you practice your faith?
Okay.
And what is faith to you?
Oh gosh, faith is believing that things work out. Faith is believing that my higher power, whom I call God, is looking out for me. You know, and things, the situations that happen in my life were put there because God believes that I'm strong enough to walk through it.
And how did you get to that point where you were able to know, like, it's like you said, it's trusting things that you can't see.
Yeah.
What had to happen for you to really get grounded in that?
Because I'm trying to do things on my own, and that's exhausting. First of all, you're only human.
Yeah. You're
not capable of changing the world, let alone changing your life with one, bat of an eye. And it was little God shots that would happen for me that really gave me the opportunity to understand that I don't have to be alone in this. I don't have to do this alone. And like, for instance, what happened, this is like, when I think about it, it's just like amazing to me. Like it brings tears in my eyes because I was in rehab. This is like the last rehab I went to out here in Orange County. And I remember I was angry, right? Julie, the angry Julie. It was really fearful, but I didn't know what that was yet. I was fighting with my roommates, and I don't remember what it was about. I'm sure it was petty, but it's hard living with a bunch of women that are newly sober. I'll put it that way. It's hard.
Couldn't even imagine. I'm working in rehab.
Hard.
I was go woo.
Yeah. That'll humble you too.
Yes.
And I was supposed to get a pass that day for my friend that was going to visit me, and they wouldn't let me go. They said no, because this happened or whatever. We want you to stay here. But I was able to go get ice cream with one of my peers, and we went and sat in the truck, and we went and drove to the very top of this parking structure, and I'm angry, and I'm just like venting, and I'm just like pissed, and all of a sudden we're sitting there, and I just take a deep breath, and I just say to myself, it was meant to be. You weren't meant to go out with your friend. You weren't, maybe you're not ready, because it was a guy friend, and just then an eagle, I kid you not, an actual eagle lands 10 feet in front of me on the ledge.
Was it a bald eagle?
A bald eagle.
Gosh.
It was a bald eagle. And I remember sitting there just being like, is this really happening? What the?
Did an eagle just come in front of me?
This is amazing. Oh my God.
Yes.
I had never seen an eagle like this close.
Yes.
And it's sitting there for probably about a minute, 2 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it spreads its wings really wide and it just starts flying away. And I'm just like, had I gone on this little day trip, I would have never seen this.
That's crazy.
God is speaking through me, to me through other people. And from then on, things would happen and they were just unexplainable. Like, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that God speaks through people and situations happen. And ever since I got sober, I think I'm like a lucky person. Like, I have luck, which is funny because I used to always be unlucky.
What is something lucky that's happened to you recently?
Gosh, I feel like with my Amazon store, I put in work, but maybe not as much work as I should be putting into it, if I'm being honest. And it happens for me organically. And I get all these sales, and then I get in fear because it's slow again. And then I surrender the fear because it's really hard to have fear and faith at the same time. I mean, it can happen, but then you surrender it, and then all of a sudden I'll get all these sales again, or just situations where I'm in the car and I'm sober at this point, but I'm driving home late at night and I'm turning to go to my house, and it was like probably 10:30 at night, and this car, and had I been a little bit further into the turning lane, this car would have plowed right into me, and he barely missed me. He hit the sign right next to my car and took off. And he took off, so I'm believing he's probably under the influence or something.
Yeah.
And I was there to be able to move the sign out of the road and tell the cop what happened, because just then a cop happened to come by. So all these things, you know, I feel that happened. Had I not been sober, first of all, I don't think I'd be here. I think I for sure have perished from this disease. I mean, I was jaundiced. I was yellow. I was bloated.
Ooh.
I was throwing up every day.
That's hot.
I had seizures. I mean, I was a hot mess for sure.
And that's like a really sexy bio.
Do you like that?
That's like Tinder bio right there. Like, yeah, like swipe right on that. You have seizures too? Me too. You're yellow? Me too. Yeah, my teeth are yellow.
I'm so glad I'm not like, it's not even about how I looked really, obviously, but it's how I felt inside.
Look how beautiful you are now. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And it's not even like it's not even just in the physical part. It's the spiritual part. You know, you just feel it. You feel the beauty, whereas like it erases
the glow.
Anything else that we'd probably be insecure about. It's like, no, it's just
you. Not really. I mean, we all have insecurities. I still do. I called myself out on Instagram the other day, and I weighed myself for the first time since October.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I am the heaviest I've been in like 4 years.
4 years.
And I gotta tell you, this is where we talk about taking inventory. I know very well that I was in denial, because if I saw the number on the scale, then that would mean I couldn't be in denial anymore. I would tell myself I'm not weighing myself because it's not healthy for me and it wasn't motivating me. It was actually like really like fucking up my days when I would gain weight.
Yeah.
So I would tell myself it's healthy that I'm not weighing myself, right?
Yeah.
When in reality, I think having a balance of maybe weighing yourself once a week would have been good accountability for me.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'm not fitting in my clothes anymore, and it's like, okay, well, there's no denying what's going on here. And actually, that's where my growth comes from, because I weighed myself and I put on weight, and the old me just last year would have been obsessive about it, would have been very upset, mad at myself, probably isolated that day, probably ate a bunch of junk. Instead, I did the complete opposite, and I held myself accountable, and I started eating better that day. And since then, I've been eating a little bit better, you know, and giving myself a break, because I'm human. We all have ups and downs, highs and lows, and I'm sober. And that's like what matters the most. But obviously, it sucks that I've gained weight, and I actually feel fatigued a lot, and that's not fun. So it's really giving the opportunity to look at like, okay, what do I need to work on? We always have to work on something. Or we get to work on something. How about that?
Get to work on something. That's right.
Because when we say we have to, I feel like right then and there, automatically my mind is like trying to go against that.
Yeah, and it makes us like hard on ourselves.
Oh,
I have to do that. I have to go here. I have to go there. And I get to go here. I'm blessed to be able to work on myself. I'm blessed that I can lose some of this weight because I'm sober. I can make the opportunity.
Yes. See, and that's huge for me. Because that was probably one of my other things. Was like at one point I was like starving myself pretty much and not eating. Or overeating and even throwing up. And so that's something that have not practiced in a long time, that kind of eating disorder. But I've had bouts of it, and that's another form of addiction, cross addiction we call that. You know, and so it's important that I'm looking at that. And it's
cross addiction, even though when you're sober you're using something else, like a behavior or whatever, something.
Yeah, whatever. Relationships, shopping was one of mine. You know,
shopaholic.
Shopping. I would go to Ross and spend like $600.
Oh my gosh!
Every time.
And I'd be your boyfriend for a day and buy me $600 of Ross.
It's Ross. It's not like it's fancy, but
probably get a lot of stuff though.
Yeah, a lot. But like name brand, cute stuff. But yeah, it's really important that we identify what cross addiction is, you know, because what happens is if we're not so we're sober, like we're not using a substance in a sense, but are we trying to stuff the void with something else? You know, because if we're not focusing on us and working through it in a healthy way, and we're just using this or this or this to stuff it and fill it, it's just going to be endless. You're not getting that spiritual connection. You know what I mean?
What do you think it is that takes people out when they have time in recovery?
Like time meaning how much time?
All right, let me see if I can explain this better. It's 2:00.
Oh my gosh.
In recovery, for people that, okay, I don't want to drink no more, I don't want to use no more, and then the real problem comes up.
The real problem
comes up.
Yeah. I mean, I think obviously one of them is definitely post-acute withdrawal might be going on in the beginning. But I think it's easy for us to slowly disconnect and not even know we're doing it. And what works for us, if we're not doing it, it has to be the combination. Like, you can't just take one thing and go, oh, I'll just keep doing this and that'll work.
Yeah.
When obviously there might be something missing.
I got a good one right here.
Yeah.
Ready?
Tell me.
I'm trying to make it more understanding for people.
Okay.
Drugs and alcohol is not the problem anymore. But now I'm not doing good. I'm going to AA. I'm not hearing anything anymore. I'm talking to my sponsor. I'm not getting nothing. Like, I've worked my steps and, I'm putting in work. Nothing's working. How does somebody find out through recovery what the real problem is now? Yeah. Now that they don't want to use, obsession's lifted, how does a person go about finding the root of the problem?
I think that getting outside help is really important. Yeah. Especially as someone who specializes in whatever it is you're going through. And I think, like you were saying, like if someone goes to meetings and they're doing all this stuff, but it's still not working, right? So I think that's where outside help is really important.
Okay. So like a therapist, counselor.
Especially someone that might be specializing in whatever it is, like if it's trauma or even just alcohol addiction, whatever it is. Especially if you feel like you're trying and it's just not getting better, there's no reason for us to suffer that much. I mean, we suffer, but like, we when we actually do footwork, take action, sometimes we don't get the relief right away, but it'll happen over time and we don't notice it. So it's just continuing to do the right next thing. And then we may not get the relief right away, but we will. So we have to trust once again. We have to have faith.
That's gonna work out.
Or maybe add something else to our recovery.
Okay.
Maybe we're missing out. Maybe we're not getting enough exercise, or maybe we're not eating properly, or maybe you haven't dealt with something that's really hard to deal with, and so you're scared.
Do you think a big part could be about it too? Is like for some people maybe they're still in an emotional denial, where now like they're like, why am I not doing good? And then it's like, well, maybe there's more to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you completely honest with your step work maybe, and maybe you thought you were. And now you understand that there's more layers.
Revealed. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's so accurate.
Yeah.
Like, are you really 100% being honest?
Yeah.
Because you're robbing yourself if you're not.
I've noticed. Oh, here's a good one. Okay, I forgive the person who abused me. I forgive my father for not being there and just how he was. I forgive my past relationships for cheating on me, and I feel like it doesn't bother me no more. But now I'm noticing, did I really forgive you guys? Maybe I don't feel like it bothers me, but did I forgive you? Do I feel forgiveness? I think that's a big one.
What makes you second guess yourself?
Because
it's coming up again?
I second guess it because I'm starting to notice that I have no awareness of how I feel. I know how to say the word, but I don't know what the word feels like.
Like you're not internalizing it.
Yeah. Like, like it doesn't bother me, but I think it does bother me. And it's another set of denial. I did my step 4. I forgive them. I do it. Doesn't bother me. I wrote on it. Okay. Why
are you still feeling
am I still feeling like something's missing? And it's like, well, there's more to it.
Yeah.
Like you say, cool, I'm good. I did a year sober. I'm good now. Same thing for forgiveness. Boom, I did my step. I forgave this person 6 months in. I'm good now. I never have to look at it. I got no more resentments. But it's like, actually,
wouldn't that be nice?
Actually, no. You just got to keep on going
and
work on the forgiveness. It just doesn't happen.
Well, I think especially for you, what you've gone through, it's one of those things where you can't just say, I did the work, now I'm expected just to forgive and move on.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things where it's just going to take time, and that's not going to happen overnight as much as we want it to. So that's why you just keep practicing love and patience and forgiving every day.
Yeah.
And I think it'll happen. One day you'll just realize that you're not thinking about it anymore. And that's when you've known that that's been lifted. But I'm not, in terms of what happened to you, I'm not sure anybody really gets over that. I think it's something that you continue to work on, So, but I think that's a great question. You're like, what, 18 months in?
I'm actually 20 months.
20 months?
Thanks a lot, Julie.
Hey!
Did you not see my last post a couple days ago? 20 months.
Was it 20?
Yeah.
Oh, did I like it?
Do you remember the pose?
Kind of, yeah, the silly one.
Yeah.
I love poses like that. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where we just have to give it time.
Yeah.
And keep practicing, working. We always are working on ourselves,
All the time.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you even identify. You're like, okay, I thought I forgave him, but why? I guess I haven't, because that's where the denial isn't there.
Yeah.
Because now you're aware of the fact that maybe you haven't forgiven.
Have you heard of ACA?
Adult Children of Alcoholics. Are you going there?
Yeah.
Good.
I'm on my 6th meeting. That is... Anybody, if you've heard of ACA or haven't, I just recommend at least maybe check it out. That
Intense, huh?
is intense.
Yeah. Yeah.
I walked in there and I never thought... Because I never thought that my... who I am were all survival traits. Every part of me were survival traits.
Yeah.
So it was crazy because the step work helped me identify defects and work on myself. But there's certain things I wasn't even aware of that were actually things. So it's hard for me to be honest because I didn't know. I was like, no, I'm good. I've worked on this stuff, but I didn't know there was more to it because it's my natural state of mind. On your phone, you have to check spelling, and sometimes it doesn't understand a word, but you program it to understand it.
Ooh, I like
so then
that
now
analogy.
it never questions it. So the same thing with my mind, never question these things.
Yeah.
No, I'm a good person. I love people. I hang out with people. I've always been a person to help, and I don't get into fights because I think it's dumb, and I'm not gonna just cause a complaint about this because there's no point. But the reality was, I people please so much since I was young. I wasn't good at it. I did it to get away from abandonment, to get away from angry people because I was used to anger and fear at the house. So by lying the whole time, oh no, I'm good. No, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. Definitely. No, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on your side. Oh, and then the next day I'm on your side. Constantly creating that, but was to not feel pain.
Wow.
And the ACA showed me that because I was like, wow, because then. In my relationship and at home, it was like a switch clicked. One day in the meeting, a switch clicked. I went home and went, this is not right, actually. No, I'm going to set a healthy boundary, actually.
Hell yeah.
I've been doing this out of fear. Now I see that.
So let me ask you.
Yeah.
What questions came up that really helped you identify what that was? Or was it just someone sharing?
So somebody sent it to me on Instagram, and I bought the book right away. And it says, here's a laundry list. There's 14 traits.
Okay.
Read them. I just read them. Every single one was me.
Okay.
Every single one. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's me. That's me.
Yeah.
And the next page says, if any of this relates to you, then this book's for you. So once I started reading it, it was as if somebody was there when I was born at the hospital and said, all right,
Through your
Fausto
whole
was
life.
born, 92. Everything. I mean, everything from when I was 4 to 5 to 6 to playing sports. It talks about playing sports. It talks about elementary school, middle school, the mindset of situations of
growing up.
abuse, of a family member. Is this how your mom is and your dad? Let me guess, your mom's not an alcoholic. And I'm like, no, she's not. But she has a mindset because of this. Was her grandparents? Yes, her grandparents. What her dad was. Oh my gosh, my dad's brother was one. It all makes sense.
The pattern.
Yeah.
So what book is this so we can tell our viewers?
Oh, it's ACA.
Oh, it's just the ACA
yeah.
book. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's how I say. Get the ACA book. All you got to do basically is read the laundry list. If you relate to it, just read it. And you decide from there.
Yeah, I love that. And hey, good for you for keeping an open mind to other things.
Yeah.
Because to me, it sounds like the right questions were not asked.
Exactly, because I didn't know.
Yeah, you didn't know what you were. It wasn't. You had no idea, and then it started to surface for you.
Yeah, and that's why in AA I started to feel kind of lost because I was like, well, dude, I don't want to use now. I'm running out of stories to share. I feel like I'm just telling the same testimony, but I want to give something good. But then I'm like, I feel like I'm lying. I'm trying to come up with something now. And it's like,
Really?
yeah, it was like that. I was like sitting there. I was like, dude, I don't know. Like I don't want to use anymore. So what's going on now? Like I'm not finding what I need. Why do I feel like this? And I noticed even in recovery, for me at least, the same fear comes back in. I see the cliques, the people that are in these groups, and I still feel like a disconnection from them a lot. I still see it in AA, and I'm like, dude, what's going on?
Yeah.
I went to a men's meeting. I felt that. And it clicked. It's like, that's because how I've always been.
You've always felt like an outsider.
I was always an outsider. These are people that were probably with people, and now they're sober, so they still have that dynamic to kind of connect with all these guys. But I have the fear built into me of abandonment.
Yeah.
Not knowing how to
connect. Yeah. Well,
So-
you probably have like arm's length. You're like, I don't want you to get to know me because then you can't hurt me.
And then it's the fear of not even approaching it, because I view, and the thing is crazy, I view everybody as my dad.
Wow.
I never thought that.
Wow.
Everybody. That's why it's not the abuse when I got sexually abused. I thought it was through my AA. No, it's my dad. That is the real problem. That's why I found acceptance through it.
Yeah.
So when I got abused when I was 6, I found acceptance through the older kid doing that to me.
Okay. Yeah.
I got 15. I was on meth. I found acceptance through an older man through that way too, because was this my way. And then the fear comes in of like, it's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. So it was crazy to see that, because that's what it is. It was like an illusion I built. It's not that, oh, these people just because they're alcoholics or they're still drinking, I can't connect with you guys. You guys are sick. That's why I don't go to clubs anymore or bars. Like, no, I just think everybody's my dad. That's a guy.
Wow.
So I can't even build a relationship with you because I have that judgment of that without even knowing.
So they don't even have to be like the same age as your dad. They can just be any age.
Yeah, it's just a person, because my dad put that in my mind without me being aware. So I view everything like that. And I got bullied a little bit when I was like 7 or 8 by the kids in the apartment. So we're like 3 years older. So you know what I mean? It's kind of like seeing my dad's like that. The kids are like that. So now my mind's been like that.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, you basically have the inner child.
That's what it is.
That
Yeah,
you're
inner
working
child.
through.
Yeah, inner child.
Yeah.
So it's just.
I'm so glad to hear that you've added something else to your recovery.
Yeah.
Because, and I hear you loud and clear about, meetings. And that's why I always encourage people go to different meetings until you find one that really
resonates
with you. And the same meeting can be really great a week before, and then you go this week and it's a different dynamic completely. And, I think it's so important to identify that, and I felt that too, where I went to a women's meeting and it felt cliquey, and, I couldn't really relate in the sense where I was in my life with them. And I hadn't really, I tried to keep it in mind, but I don't even know if I really tried enough, to be honest with you. And I ended up finding another meeting that I really liked that was a women's meeting. It was just a little bit of a drive. So, and I've gone to meetings where I was bored and I felt, like I'm not hearing anything I need to hear. I don't really need to be here, and kind of rude and short with people. And it gives me the opportunity to look at myself and think, what is it about this meeting, or what is it about you that is coming up for you right now? So sometimes it's just about, I'm not spiritually connected right now, and I'm not hearing anything right now, and in terms of how you were saying how you don't want to keep sharing your same life story over and over again, I used to feel that way too, but the more time you have, the more time you accumulate, the more things are going to keep happening in recovery. So it's more about, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. So what are the promises that are happening in your life? Not necessarily what happened. Let's obviously we want people to relate. But when I go and share to the high schools, it keeps changing. Not my story, but the promises keep changing in my life.
I think that's what it was for me, because I wasn't feeling good internally for a while. That in AA, I was just like, I don't, I probably just, you view everything terrible. I don't feel good. I don't want to share. I don't know what to share no more. What do I know? I'm not doing good at all. At all. And
people need to hear that when you're not doing well. Because that's relatable shit. Like we were just talking about earlier. It's like Instagram has this whole people portray something on there.
2 days sober, my life's changed. 3 weeks, I got this. Boom, I'm back.
Pink clouds sailing through. And I love that. I love that they're excited about it and that they want to share that. But, and that's why I always say, just come along for the ride. Keep an open mind, because shit hits the fan life's in session. And like kind of what you were asking before, it's like, what do you do? And all of a sudden you feel stuck and da-da-da. And it's like sometimes we can try everything and apply everything, but it just takes time. And it's painful as it is, that's where the growth is once again.
Yeah, the pain equals growth.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm a firm believer in that. You know, and like my life isn't like every day like amazing, and I'm not like super proud of myself every day thinking like I can be hard on myself thinking like I'm not doing enough with my business, I'm not doing enough with work or whatever it is. And then I have to allow myself just to say, maybe today just wasn't a day, a good day for you to be your best. You know, it doesn't mean I'm always every day doing that, because then there's a pattern. Because it's like, am I really trying my best, or am I practicing self-care, or am I isolating? You know, and then there's that whole thing where you really got to look at yourself.
How important do you think structure is for us?
Oh, so important.
And how did you go about getting your structure? Did you do like a calendar? Did you write on the wall?
Really. If I'm being honest, I do have a planner, which I didn't even get until about a year ago.
By the way, this is question time where you can ask me questions. We're gonna go back and forth. This is my question to you, and you go back to me.
Let's do that. Okay. And I think it's just about placing a routine. To talk about like 21 days to start a routine.
Yeah.
So I think it's about implementing that, starting your day off. It's really, for me, how do I start my day? And it has to be meditation and prayer. Gotcha. And even just gratitude. Like grateful that I get to wake up sober today. And, you know, asking for guidance from my higher power.
So when you ask for guidance, are you just like Father, God, higher power, whatever you call your greater being, you just go, please guide my direction this morning to not be a shitty person?
I mean, it depends. Yeah. Help me, guide me, and help me do your will, not my own, because my own will is can be shitty. How about you? How do you get that structure?
I'm still learning. Right now I just have a whiteboard calendar, and I write out my schedule. And on the sides, my goals for that month. Cool. And then I put like a little motivational quote there. And that's what I'm trying to use for structure, is that. And trying to stick to that.
I love it.
Because my brain is so scattered.
Mine too, especially if you have a lot going on.
Yeah. And it's like, the more I sit with that scattered brain, the more I realize, oh shit, this is a problem too. I really need, as much as I don't want to have structure and discipline, because I'm a free soul and I just go with the flow. I'm too much of a free soul that goes with the flow. I need some structure.
I need the structure.
Yeah, because I contemplate everything, and I'm just sitting in my car for like 2 hours. Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What should I do? I should do this, do that. No, do this. Maybe I should read.
And you're like overthinking the whole
book?
thing.
I got 5 books to read. Should I read this book? That would do 2 pages, 5 pages. Now just get to this book. Oh my gosh. What about step work? I need to do step work. I need to go to. Oh wait, hold on.
Oh my goodness, right? Your mind is so cluttered.
And I get a phone call. Hey, what are you doing right now? Nothing. You want to hang out? Yeah.
And then you just don't do anything that you're supposed to do. Everything that you told yourself you'd do that day, you didn't do. Yeah. And I think it's just about obviously having structure, but like not setting yourself up. Yeah. To fail.
Being gentle with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Be gentle with yourself and have realistic expectations. Yeah.
Read a book today. It's like, oh crap, I only read 20 pages.
But that's 20 pages.
But now do that. Yeah, read 20 pages a day or 10 pages a day. Something easy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Wake up early today.
And that's
healthy.
Amazing in itself. Yeah, and I think a lot of us, especially for my ADD, it's like, okay, in my mind, I'm like, I gotta do this. I gotta go to the dentist. I gotta go take my dog to the whatever. And when I have it written down, there's something about it being scattered up here, and then I gotta remember this. But if I have it written down, it's more concrete. And then the ability to cross them off as you go is so exciting.
Dopamine.
Dopamine. I did this. Even if it's like a small thing, you know, like I made my bed.
I went poop today.
I went poopies.
I've had a time where I couldn't poop for 10 days. So I'm just going to say,
holy moly.
Put meth in my butt.
Oh my goodness.
Close my butt.
Wow. So now you can poop.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Imagine that's when you have the gratitude.
It is, right?
It hurt so bad for 10 days, and when you could finally go, it was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
It is amazing, and like we're healthy.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, okay, I put on weight, and I'm not happy about it, but overall, I'm healthy.
That's good.
You know, my body is capable of doing. I mean, it's been through the ringer.
Yeah.
And it's come out shiny. You know, and I was just thinking about this too the other day. Is my childhood friend's little sister died last year.
I'm sorry.
Cirrhosis of the liver. Which I didn't think anybody that young could die.
How old?
32.
Just wow.
32. And I thought, how is that even possible? You know, and within a week of being admitted to the hospital, she died. And when she was admitted to the hospital, so her mom and her sister are both in recovery.
Yeah.
So they're the example of like recovery and how it can change your life.
Yeah.
And they were loving for her, but you know, they had boundaries with her as well, which is important. And by the time she really surrendered, it was too late. And she had cirrhosis and died from it. And it's just, life is precious.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's you're dying from cirrhosis or kidney failure or whatever it is, or you're just getting in the car and you're driving, you know, and it's just like every day it's hard to, like I said, once again, it's just like gratitude is so important for me because the simplicity of it can really change my whole perspective. Perspective is so important.
It really is.
Yeah. I love these questions, by the way, and I love how it's just up here and you remembered them.
What I do, I'm from bartending and serving. I'm so good at remembering stuff.
That makes sense.
So for me, I find it more simpler for me to challenge myself to. I already know kind of ask my questions. I ask myself questions every day. So ask the same questions to somebody else.
I love that.
And just stay curious in your conversation and listen. Like, okay, I'm gonna talk about that now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about that as you talk.
What made you start this podcast? How did this happen? How did it come about? Well, first of all, I think you're a natural. I just want to say that.
That's what Taryn said too.
You're such a natural. You have a way with your words, and the questions that are coming up are just unique.
Thank you.
So, tell me.
How did I come up with the podcast? I think it's just when I was a kid, I've always had a good imagination or a big imagination to do something, right? So when I got sober, it's just that same mindset. I was like, I have to do something. Maybe I do it to an extreme at times, you know, of course. So I sit there and I'm just trying to figure out how am I gonna make an impact? How am I going to be able to help my family and the people that have helped me? Because this is my thing. The people who helped me in my recovery, I was like, I want to be able to give back to them in ways that they'll never believe. So what's that going to take? It's going to take for me to get successful in some way, in a healthy way, by creating content for people, whatever it's doing. So one of the ideas was like, I know how to do video. I've done it. Like, why don't I do a video podcast for people that maybe could find some insight and some hope and faith in their recovery. That's what I was looking for. Motivational videos, whatever I could, talking to you guys. Imagine to create like a podcast where you can just go to this podcast, look at what you're dealing with, and click the video. And you can find the answer there, hopefully, instead of looking everywhere else and stressing out. Or if you're too shy to go to a meeting right now, maybe the podcast will help you.
Love that.
And then like, now I'm going to go to a meeting.
Love that.
You know, so that's why I created it.
Yeah, I love it.
And it just helps me feel connected with myself, you know.
It's a good accountability.
Yes, it is.
Because it's like we have to preach what we say, and if we're not doing it ourselves, then like, you know. Are you a perfectionist?
You know what? I found out I was a perfectionist 4 weeks ago.
Just 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, cool. I didn't know there's
I could have told you that.
Oh my gosh, you're holding off. Stop being so spiritual and saying, when the time is right, God will show him. I need to tell him. God will show him. I can't tell him.
You have to be ready to hear it.
I know.
So you found this out?
I like hearing things. Okay, well, you're probably right. I shouldn't take it. You probably shouldn't have told me, maybe.
Because you wouldn't have.
I feel like sometimes I need that. Because I know, for me, I'm good at trusting people now that... Because I'm very... what's that word? People are not too smart when they go into the AA. There's the intellectual, and then there's... They're very...
book smart, you mean?
I'm not book smart. I'm very like you tell me something, like, okay, I don't question it.
Oh, you believe? Oh, okay. Yeah.
I forgot what that is.
Oh my God, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to cut this out.
It's not ignorance. Not ignorant. Is it ignorance of bliss? Did you say that? No.
Ignorance is probably not the right word though.
Very Oh my gosh.
We're gonna have to look it up.
Yeah.
Because I know exactly what you mean.
For people that are watching, if you know what it means, and that's what I'm saying.
And I know exactly. I think it's too much. Too much bang.
Too much bang. Oh my God, where's my bang at? But so for me, like with you, Taryn, and some people I talk to, like with you guys, if you guys tell me anything, I listen and I'll do it. Even if I don't understand it, I do it because I'm so like, I trust you guys so much, and I believe. Yeah. I go.
You have the faith.
Yeah, because I see it. You know what you guys are talking about. Yeah. I see it in you. It's not because of the years. I see it in you.
Oh wow.
So it's like
that's amazing.
If you tell me something, I'm like,
you're gonna believe it.
I'm gonna believe it. All right, she knows, like she has to know, and I'll talk about it. I'll live by that. That's the thing. I'll live by. I'll talk about it. It'll be my mindset. But yeah, 4 weeks ago I found out I was a perfectionist. Wow. Because of the ACA book. Okay. Because it broke it down into 2 ways.
2 different ways of being a perfectionist.
Perfectionist is the OCD person. You can see the typical, it has to be perfect, everything has to be nice, it's got to fold it. It has to be perfect. When I do something, it has to be perfect. The other perfectionist is the procrastinator. I don't do it because it needs to be perfect in my mind. Exactly. I don't know how to do this speech. I'm not even going to do it.
I'm not even going to do it.
I need to start a business, but I don't know where to start, so I don't want to make the video for it. It's like, and I'm hard on myself. I'm not worthy. You're not good enough. And that's that perfectionist part.
Yes. I love it how it broke it down. Yeah. Because I think a little bit, people can be a little bit of both too, depending on the day.
Right. Different levels of perfectionism.
Wow.
Yeah. So you've known this whole time.
Let me hear your favorite sober accounts.
The one right in front of me.
Thank you.
I love your account. Again, if you guys don't remember, Serenity Lives 09. I love Taryn's account. The Taryn DeVito? I don't even know,
to be honest.
Taryn, I apologize if I said it wrong.
We just know it's Taryn.
But Taryn, I love his account. Again, he's like, you two have like that. I ask you a question, it's just, no, definitely. Like, no, I get it. Like, that's totally understandable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you. I feel validated for that. Yeah.
Validate my feelings, please.
So it's like that confidence with asking you guys questions.
Oh, that's amazing.
A lot of humbleness, no ego. Wow. I love Jen. Resurrection.
Oh yeah, Jen. Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's very transparent and honest and humble. Wow, so I don't want to forget people. I love a lot of accounts. I like Isaiah's account, posting stuff. He's always putting people out there.
Oh, Isaiah?
Yeah, Sober Movement's putting the stories.
Yeah, I love Sober Movement too.
Gosh, like a lot of accounts out there. I can't remember.
That's
right now.
okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I mean,
you can't say none of mine.
Dang it! I'm so bad at the usernames. Like, I just know, like, okay, so obviously you. I think we've connected since the get-go. Yeah. Like you were saying, like it just felt easy. Yeah. Like I could talk to you, and I think you're like that with everybody. You're just so easy to talk to, and there's never a judgment. I don't feel any judgment ever from you. Thank you. And even if you don't really understand what they're going through, I feel like you are really good at navigating the conversation, asking the right questions. So that's why I think the podcast is great. Yeah. Thank you. I love you. I think you're great. This girl, Corinne. Do you know who I'm talking about? Corinne.
Corinne Cook.
C-O.
Corinne Cook.
Yeah.
Cook Corinne.
Yeah. She's really cool. I think she's up north.
Hi, Corinne Cook.
I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Yeah. She is also going to school to be a counselor. Nice. And she actually wants to like keep going and get her like doctorates and stuff like that, which is amazing. Cool. Yeah, or masters or one of those ones. And she's not big on AA, and that's where it's like I feel like what works for me and you might not work for somebody else, but like doesn't bash it either.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
That's important.
So it's like just humble about it. Like, oh, no, AA works for you. Like, dude, like,
exactly.
do it. Do what works for you.
We need more people like that that are gonna say like, maybe this doesn't work for me, but give it a try. Yeah. And I love you regardless. Yeah. And I'm gonna support you regardless. Yeah. Like, those, when you talk about ego, right? That's a big one on social media.
Yeah.
Edging God out.
Yeah.
That's like what ego means, basically.
And I'm guilty of that in a lot of ways too.
We all are.
You are judging different programs, but you realize through humility is different programs work for different people.
Exactly.
And it's so much relief.
Yeah.
Letting go of the control.
Yeah.
Of trying to control for everything that, well, I know the right way, or I could change you if I offer you the best advice, and I know what's right. When really it's, I don't know anything.
Yeah, exactly. Remain teachable.
Try it out, and if it works, go for it. Mm-hmm. Just know that I'm here for you as support. If you have any questions, and just simple answer, and it makes it all easy.
And that's what sobriety is about. Recovery is about. Is that I don't want anybody to feel like if they go to an AA meeting or whatever that that they're not welcomed, or that if they're not identifying as an alcoholic at the meeting that that they're not welcomed. And there's gonna be people at meetings that are gonna be a little more hard-headed, and that's just because we're all sick. Yeah. Some are sicker than others. Yeah. So find the herd, find the people that really are open to just meeting you where you're at and giving you some guidance and being patient with you, because they're there. Yeah. And it's like, I love social media, don't get me wrong, and I think it's really added some substance to my life and my recovery. Yeah. But there's something to be said about, interaction, human, like face-to-face interaction that you can't get online.
Yeah, like don't make Instagram your recovery. Yeah, exactly. For people that are newly on, that probably doing that right now. Yeah. Have that, but have
something else.
Interact with people.
Yeah. 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 I think that's important, because I think especially if you're new, I think obviously it really helps, because like you were saying, if people listen to your podcast and they think, well, maybe I'll go to a meeting now. Yeah. Like it's just planting little seeds. Yeah. So I think if it plants seeds and maybe eventually they'll get to a place where they're ready to try something else, kind of get their feet a little wet, then that's great in itself. So, and there's people that live in the middle of nowhere that don't have meetings. And so that's why it's important, to continue to find adding some tools in your life and go to a therapist or go to a specialist, and whatever it is, because we're not meant to do this on our own. And and I remain teachable. And like you were saying, how I have all this time and whatever, it's like, obviously it's amazing, and I've just had more opportunity to walk through some uncomfortable stuff in my life and apply recovery in my life. That's the only thing that's different between you and I, is that I've had a little bit more time to figure out what life is like, how to apply recovery tools.
You got the experience of, I think I got to figure it out, I don't. I think I got to figure it out, I don't.
And I still get like that.
Humble. So you're like, okay, you get the humbleness to be like, just,
and that's important, because I will let self-will run riot, and that's ego. And so it's important to have people like you and my sponsor to help me look at that and say, is this,
there you go. Yeah, that's a good question. How do you know when it's your will?
In God's will.
In God's will. And this is in the mind, because we're always thinking, what does your mind tell you when it's your will? What does your mind tell you when it's God's will?
Oh my goodness gracious. That's such a...
Because it's surrendering. A lot of people...
That's such a loaded question.
People ask that, they're like, well, how do I know what's God's will and my will? How do I know if I do this, is it mine? If I go right or left? Like...
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think we overthink it.
Of course, right? Oh my gosh, did I eat this pizza? Was that God's will? I was like, dude, chill out. The pizza was there. Like, eat it.
Yeah. Well, God does give us the opportunity to make our own decisions, right? And I think if we're constantly trying to push something that isn't working, and oh my God, for instance, I have a perfect example.
Ooh, examples.
Okay, so you remember how, so like I said, 5 years without a cigarette.
Yeah.
And then I went like 2 years without any nicotine, and then I started trying to vape. At like 3 years sober, right? Yeah. And it immediately broke. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. I surrender. I get it, God. And then like 4 years, 5 years, 6 years go by, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get another one, right? This is my self-will, obviously.
Yeah,
ego.
Really nice nail color, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I just did them.
Sorry, I couldn't pay attention to you unless I said that. I was like, nice nails.
Thank you.
I have to say it.
I actually painted them myself. I was trying to save some money.
Better. If you guys need to get your nails done, hit up Serenity Lives Now. She does nails.
No, not really.
And is your therapist at the same time,
basically. If
basically.
If he saw up close, he would see that they're like, I fell asleep with them a little wet, and they're a little, anyways.
She's just being hard on herself.
Progress, not perfection. No, they're bad.
Sober nails.
But here, and then, so it broke again, and I'm like, okay, sure, I get it. Yeah. And then October of last year, maybe it was before that, I got another one, right? But when it broke on me, what did I do? Besides, before in the past, I'd say, okay, I get it. I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
But I'm like, nope. Let's go get another one. Oh, this one's leaking on me. Nope. Okay, let's go get another battery, or let's go get another coil, or whatever it is. And I literally spent probably a month trying to go back and forth with fixing it or figuring it out.
Yeah.
Finally, it broke again. And I was thinking, oh my God, now I'm getting really addictive. Now I'm like, I can't even leave the house. If I can't find it, I get anxious. And it got to a point where I was like smoking at work, like inside the building.
In your office, like.
Yes. And like, it just reminds me, I am thoroughly through and through an addict.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is, you know? And finally, I surrendered again, and I asked God to remove the obsession because I was like fully addicted. And for 3 days straight, I was like withdrawing from nicotine.
That's crazy.
So I quit after, I think it was like 3 months of trying again to smoke the vape. And literally there's about 20 different times I wanted to go to the store and get another one during those 3 days. Yeah, it was so
That's
bad.
nuts.
So badly I wanted it. And so then I started eating a lot of sweets and whatever, and trying to apply recovery in my life. And it was different this time than it was with the smoking, because the smoking, I was like disgusted at that point and like nauseous if I were to smoke. This was more just like easier to like justify because it doesn't smell and da-da-da. And man, that was a really hard one. And I'm glad that I stopped at 3 months, because had I continued,
You'd probably be vaping in this episode.
I would be vaping. I would be like not even engaging with you, because I'd be thinking about how I want to go outside and I want to get my nicotine fix.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show it doesn't matter how much time you have. I mean, I'm applying recovery tools all the time in my life. So that was my self-will. And God kept trying to intervene. God was like, nope, breaking this one. And I'm like, no, but wait, but what if, okay, just this once, you know, and then finally I surrendered, and then it just felt much better at that point. And now it's like, I'm glad, I'm so happy I'm not doing it anymore, because it just reminded me of active addiction completely.
That same habits and
Yeah. And then what about you?
For
The difference between your self-will and God's will.
if I have expectations, it's my will. If I remove expectations, then it's God's will.
I like
That's
that.
how for me helps. You know, when it helps me know when I'm, so I don't overthink it.
Yeah.
You know, because I was trying to figure out maybe I shouldn't do this, and then here's my biggest thing, and I've learned for everyone to be aware too. Be very careful. I feel like giving advice. And I understand why they say, this is my suggestion from my experience, keep it eyes, because if I'm still sick and I think this is the way, and I find out 6 months later, like, oh, that wasn't right. Oh my gosh, I've been telling people that. Like, oh crap. You know, and it's, you make mistakes, but it's just knowing why the suggestion thing is so good.
It's all about how you word it.
How you word it.
Yeah.
So because that was kind of a big thing for me when I understood the God's wills with no expectations in a way. I read about it, looked into it, asked people, and I asked Taryn and read it. And I was like, oh gosh, I had it all wrong. I was overthinking it too much. So I would tell people sometimes, like, I don't know, man, you got to make sure it's God's will. How do I know? Well, is it a good thing? Well, I don't know. Then probably not. Don't do it. But it was just expectations. And I have expectations on so many things. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what it is. Let it go. It doesn't mean not to go do it.
What are your intentions?
What are your intentions, you know?
Wow.
Yeah, so that was huge.
Yeah. I think, you know, one of the biggest things I've learned as being a counselor is do no harm.
Do no harm.
Especially if it's not my specialty.
One second. What was that?
No battery.
Nope. Oh, which one? This one? Okay, cool.
You guys are hitting on
We're almost done. Should we wrap it up?
hour and 30 minutes.
Cool.
Holy
All right, how many
moly,
minutes do you think left on this? Give or take. Huh? 5? Okay, we got 5 minutes. So it's about quick questions for 5.
Is this a round?
This is gonna be a round.
A quick round?
Yeah, quick round. Okay, I ask you a question, you ask me a question. We'll keep them quick. Boom, you ready?
This is scary.
This is the question round I'm going to add now. We're going to go back to back, you know? So these are just questions not prepared.
Oh my gosh,
gonna go.
I can't even think. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You ready?
Go for it.
Okay. what's your purpose? And and if you know your purpose, how did you find it out?
Through the pain.
Through the pain.
My purpose is to help others. And when I help others, it helps me.
Gotcha.
And it's important that I get out of self, because like we were just talking about, if we're thinking too much about ourselves, it's not good. It's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like helping others, basically.
Love that.
Yeah, I love that question. What's your passion?
I believe my passion is helping others not live in fear. So it's helping others find out that there actually is a fear in their life and how to go about it so they can have genuine relationships and stand up for themselves and have healthy relationships.
I love
like
that.
That's what it is. 'Cause I'm figuring that's my true problem right now with myself that I've always had. And now knowing that I can pinpoint it, like that's what I want to help people with. I still got more time to work on this. And then I just want to help people with that, because it controlled my life since like 6 years old.
Wow.
And I just thought it was something to live with. I didn't know it was actually something I could work on. Literally, like, that's so
amazing?
cool.
Yeah.
So that's mine.
And it took you getting sober to understand that.
Yeah, I got sober and I found out that now I have the chance to work on this problem.
Yeah.
So it was cool. 3 books that have helped you in your recovery.
Oh my gosh. The Big Book.
Big book.
That sounds super corny. But, you know, the first 164 pages of the Big Book are highly recommended. I think it's old language, so it's kind of boring. But relatable.
Yeah.
Even back then, they knew how this addiction worked. The doctor's opinion, Dr. Silk worked, he knew all about addiction before it even was a disease.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the other one? Oh my gosh. Okay, and Daily Reflections.
Daily Reflections is good.
Yeah, that's a really good one. And you know, for me, I really like podcasts, to be honest with you, because I have a really hard time with my ADD, like
reading,
paying attention.
Okay.
And so I'll
listen.
This other book, and they actually have the Big Book on
Audio.
Yeah, on audio. Obviously, you can probably do a YouTube search, but also it's on Spotify.
Oh, that's cool.
So I could read along with it. So there's that. There's Daily Reflections, and then I just actually dipped into Jen's book, Resurrection of Me.
Yeah, it's a good book.
The Something of a Woman, The Heart of a Woman,
Shape of a Woman.
Shape of a Woman. Yeah. Okay,
By Shape of a Woman. By the way,
hers is some. I mean, from the get-go, I was drawn in.
Yeah.
She talked about, and I had no idea like her extent of her story.
Oh yeah, the abuse is crazy.
And also how it was like a clan
or
whatever.
Clan, cult.
Yeah, a cult. I was like, whoa. So, and it's an easy read too. It's like not a thick book.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Yeah, and so that's to me obtainable. Yeah. Okay.
I think that was 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Podcasts that you like.
That I like Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory. I like Lewis Howes' School of Greatness, and I like Joe Rogan's.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, and I like Rich Roll's too.
These are all guys, though.
Yeah.
Do you listen to any girls?
Yeah, I listen to you. Just saying, I started a podcast already, so I can have one to listen to.
I did. Sober Ratitude.
Oh yeah, you gotta send me it.
Yeah, you guys, Daniela from Doing It Sober and she came up with pretty much the whole thing, like the artwork, and anyways. So it's called Sober Ratitude, and that's spelled Raditude. Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, so is it my turn? Okay.
It's my turn. For the today's your last day on Earth, and you have an addict in front of you right now. What would you tell them for some advice? That's trying to find recovery.
It's in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Take my hand.
That's good.
Let's go to a meeting.
Damn, take my hand. That just says it all right there. That's like.
I'm like tearing up right now thinking about that. I mean, when you're new, you feel like your life's over, but it's actually just beginning. Yeah. And that's true. 100% true. I get all teary thinking about it, because this is why we do it, you know? What has it been like having a relationship in recovery?
Hard. I feel that I'm gonna fuck it up every day. I feel like I don't deserve it. I feel like I choose people out of what I'm afraid of because I'm used to it. But on the other hand, it shows you what true connection really is. You know, like what the real purpose of life is. What really matters.
Yeah.
It's having someone you can literally be yourself with 100% and accept you. You know, you could be with yourself all day and be with God and be accepted, but to have a person on this earth, I think that's the most beautiful thing to have.
So it's like you're in some fear a little bit.
Every day I feel like I figure out something that's wrong with it all the time. And I think it's just discovering things about myself. I'm seeing like the insecurities.
You're projecting whatever it is onto
and I
that.
see it, you know, and sometimes having awareness is a curse in a sense because I see everything for what it is, and then it's like finding your battles. When there's a fishing hook, and do I want to really argue this or do I just let it go? You know, every time there's a conversation.
Wow.
So,
You're doing a lot of growth through that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Growth. Yeah, I just recommend loving yourself first.
Exactly. That's what I wanted. Yeah, definitely.
And pray every day that no matter what happens, I'm going to stay true to myself no matter what happens, and I'll still be happy.
Yeah.
Always kind of remember that, because if not, you start to go codependent.
Yes.
Because you don't fix it. I feel like it's always there now. So now you go, oh, there's a codependency. No. You know, I don't want to go today, actually. I just want to stay home and read.
There you go.
I don't want to go to the gym today, actually. No, I just want to stay home and, you know, just kind of like little things, because a little like, oh, of course, yeah. It's like, that's the codependent part.
Yeah, the people pleasing.
And then your recovery gets hurt. And then you lose your identity again. You're losing it. And
and I love that you pointed that out, like love yourself first. And they say like in AA, you know, wait a whole year before you even date.
I get it. I do get it in a way. Now I do understand it.
Yeah, because I think you were like 6 months sober when you were with that girl.
Yeah.
But you learned the hard way, and
Yeah,
that's the way. And I'm glad that you came through to the other side. You know.
Sweet. So that was the cut on that camera, right? Yeah.
Cool. So we go wrap it up.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up.
You know,
Thanks for doing this, by the way.
I just got to do the whole thank you for coming and everything. And
okay.
how should we do? You can do like that. Perfect. Yeah, look at that editing skills right there.
My hair flip.
Editing. Yeah. So I'm gonna say, ready? So I just want to say, even though one camera cut off, so I'm sorry to cut this one a little bit shorter, but we'll do more episodes. I just want to say thank you for getting sober when you did, and for suffering through the truth for 9.5 years, because of that, there's so many people you have helped that you're aware of probably, and that you're not even aware of, because there's moments where we feel lost and alone, and we're not at a meeting. We don't have a sponsor maybe yet. Maybe we don't have anyone to talk to. But to look at your post in that moment, you can find hope in it. And it is a big deal when you do respond to people on there, even if it's just a small response, because that just shows that God is working in your life, because this person that we view in I want to say like a celebrity way in recovery just responded.
Oh, wow.
So obviously I'm doing something right, and sometimes we have nowhere else in our life that we're doing good in. So to have that, I just want to say thank you for that.
Aww, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much.
Yeah.
And just so you know, when you said suffering, I'm not suffering anymore.
No, that's the truth.
I have moments like we all do, but it gets easier to work through it now.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Is it just means I have the tools.
Yeah.
I have the tools to work through the uncomfortable stuff, and enough time in between my belt to know, you know, when I need to go to a meeting or when I need to reach out, and I don't have to suffer alone anymore, which is beautiful. And thank you
Yeah.
for having me on this amazing podcast. You're
Yeah.
doing amazing things,
you.
and piggyback everything you said. You helping so many. I mean, and I always tell you this too. Like, he started helping people like way back in the day, like when he was under a year. And I'm like, damn, I think you're amazing. You're helping people, but make sure you're helping yourself, right?
my
Find the
biggest
balance. Because
Yeah.
he has such a way with his words, and he's so motivating and inspiring, and I know he's helped me as well, and that's how this works. It's like he says I help him, but he helps me just as much. And his perspective on things that maybe I don't even know much about, you know, and it's inspiring to me to be able to talk with you on that level. And because you got sober, you brought a whole new substance in my recovery. I look forward
you.
to seeing your posts too, and your
you.
stories with your energy. I love that.
Thank
So
you.
keep doing what you're doing because it's working, and be patient with yourself. Be patient with yourself, you guys. Try not to be hard on yourselves. It's really hard not to, but trust the process and keep just taking that right next step, and you'll get there. And I'm a DM away, and so is Fausto. So
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you for tuning in to this episode. I hope you guys got some good insight. If you guys have anyone that you'd like us to pray for, please DM us, SoberFaust, Serenity Lives 09, and feel free to ask us anything. And we promise, if we see your message and we have the time, we will respond to you. Thank you, guys. And am I forgetting anything to say?
I don't think so. I think you did great.
No? All right, guys. Well, have a good one.
You did great.
Sweet.
Oh, thank you for being so patient, sitting through
Yeah.
this whole thing.
Oh, this is my life all the time.
That's a